day begins.
This is Mobile 1, go ahead.
Combing the city inside and out.
Wind up this ticket car, Jay, we're going flying.
For the leads, the breaks,
Doctor, this is an emergency.
the hunches
Do you have an alibi for last night?
that become the evening news. Mobile 1. The story breaks. A reporter's day begins.
This is Mobile 1, go ahead.
Combing the city inside and out.
Wind up this ticket car, Jay, we're going flying.
For the leads, the breaks,
Doctor, this is an emergency.
the hunches
Do you have an alibi for last night?
that become the evening news. Mobile 1. A reporter's day begins.
This is Mobile 1, go ahead.
Combing the city inside and out.
Wind up this ticket car, Jay, we're going flying.
For the leads, the breaks,
Doctor, this is an emergency.
the hunches
Do you have an alibi for last night?
that become the evening news. Mobile 1. The story breaks. A reporter's day begins.
This is Mobile 1, go ahead.
Combing the city inside and out.
Wind up this ticket car, Jay, we're going flying.
For the leads, the breaks,
Doctor, this is an emergency.
the hunches
Do you have an alibi for last night?
that become the evening news. Mobile 1.
All right, you get the point. Excuse me. Hi, I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show. It's our 401st show, and very excited to create something annoying that was clever yesterday, but now is probably kind of annoying. So that was two screenings of 200, the film 200, and then one of the ad Mobile 1, which was a TV show that lasted maybe a season or two. I guess it was a news chopper. Anyways. Yeah. So, let's learn about Brazil getting the news. Oh yeah, so we watch old 16mm films, and so those were things I had on 16mm, but obviously I did some magic. And this is, yeah, Brazil gets the news.
Let's pretend we're in Sao Paulo, Brazil, looking at a building. Looking at this picture will help. It's the home of a fine modern newspaper. Let's go inside and look around. Every newspaper in good standing has an editor and publisher. Has A Gazeta an editor and publisher? Yes. Is this he? Yes. The reception room, which at the moment we seem to have all to ourselves. Nor is the library crowded. The staff is so busy getting out the paper that no one has time to read. In the business office, however, the boys are busy, probably scrutinizing reporters' expense accounts. Ah, the advertising department. Here's where they have to work. No ads, no paper. Another must on any sheet, the sports department. What, an auditorium? Yes, but just now it's crowded with little men who aren't there. There's an edition of this paper for children. United States papers, please copy. The art department. The business in hand here is not art with a capital A, but just pictures and more pictures, pictures for the news section, pictures for the ads, pictures for the comic strips. And then the city room, where the reporters do the sitting down part of their jobs. And their boss, the city editor. News by radio, big news. A plane carrier sunk. Here, take this to the desk. The assistant editor gets the flash. The journalistic wheels start spinning. Word goes to the rewrite desk. A story right away on that plane carrier. And have we a picture of that ship? Morgue? Is this the morgue? Very well, they'll look. And of course they'll have that plane carrier. A good newspaper morgue has on file, in pictures or clippings or cuts, everything from A to Z. Animals, boxers, calamities, debutantes, excavations, floods, Goebbels, hangings, Indians, judges, kings, lumber, murderers, nitroglycerin, operas, petroleum, quintuplets, Roosevelt, Stalin, tapestries, uprisings, vultures, wines, X's marking spots, youngsters and zebras. So they have the plane carrier? Yes. While the morgue is getting out the picture of that ship, the photo engraving room is getting ready to change it from a photograph to something you can put on a press and print with. First step, photographing the photograph on glass. The photographic image is transferred to a sensitized zinc plate. The plate then has to have the non-printing parts of its surface removed. This is done by chemical action. Here are some plates, all nicely eaten away in the right places, ready for trimming and then for insertion in the printing forms. To obtain white spaces when the picture is printed, the plate is routed in this fashion. Meanwhile, somebody upstairs has been busy at a typewriter doing a story in good, vivid Portuguese on that plane carrier. The first take should be ready by now. Here it is. The copy goes to the linotype operator. As he presses the keys, the machine casts the story into type, each line in a single solid piece called a slug. Inside the machine are matrices, or molds, hurrying into place to form the letters and then hustling back again, and molten lead and a vast deal of ingenious mechanism. Speedy, accurate typesetting machines, and the speed and accuracy of the men who run them. These make possible the modern newspaper. Now that a couple of hundred stories have come off the linotype machines, and the halftones and line cuts are all made and trimmed, and everything is nicely assembled on the make-up table, are they ready to go ahead and run off the edition? Dear me, no. This is not the lead they'll print from. After the forms are locked, off they go to the stereotyping department. A blank matrix is laid over the type and pictures. Then all the lead and zinc locked up in the form makes an impression. Oh, a decided impression. 62 tons of it on that blank matrix. Everything on that page, type, pictures and all, is now reproduced on the matrix. Now will they print the paper? No, not yet. Don't be so impatient. The matrix goes into a casting machine. More molten lead is in there somewhere. Now the whole page, reading matter, pictures and all, is cast into lead again. Now they'll have something to print with. That is, pretty soon. The castings first go to another machine where they're trimmed to just the right size for the presses. Does all this seem to you fussy and time-consuming? Well, it all goes faster than you can say Juanico Robinson. Loading the press. Nearly time for the first edition to be on the street. Have to start them rolling pretty soon. But what'll they print on? Can't have newspapers without newsprint. Where's the paper? Paper? Sure there's paper. Lots and lots of it. About 20 rolls of it for each edition. While editors and reporters and proofreaders and linotypers and photographers and engravers and all the others have been putting the edition together, some of the other boys have been loading the presses with paper. Deadline for starting the first edition through the presses is high noon. Everything is about ready now. This moment, repeated every day in any big newspaper office, is like that pleasantly exciting moment in the theater just before the curtain goes up. Let her go. It's noon. The clocks say so, the sirens say so, the people outside waiting for newspapers all know so. Start those presses rolling. So the big daily grist of news goes through the milling, rolling presses. More gains for Russia on the Eastern Front. Menuno Azul picked to win the 4th today at the Jockey Club. U-boats off the coast. Quadruplets born in Chile. Churchill gets confidence vote in Commons. Dogs barking saves 8 in Rio fire. Senorita Maria Duarte engaged to be married. 9 German generals suddenly taken ill. Lots of news. Big news, trivial news, tragic news, amusing news, world-shaking news, all sorts of news for a news-hungry world. So it is here in Sao Paulo as it is in any other big city where the press is free and where the people who turn out newspapers know their trade. This is Sao Paulo, but it might as well be Boston or Indianapolis or Dallas or Frisco. If this looks like the way things are done in Chicago or Detroit, that's because this town of Sao Paulo in Brazil is energetically alive with high-power South American progressiveness. Where is the fastest growing city in the Western Hemisphere? In the United States? No, sir. It's this same Sao Paulo in Brazil. 1,200,000 people, and 50,000 more of them each year. Modern commercial and industrial life abounds in Sao Paulo as in no other place in South America. No wonder they need brisk, up-to-date journalism, and they get it. A Gazeta is much more than a local Sao Paulo paper. It covers a wide field. By airplane and by train, it goes to all parts of South and Central America. And as for distribution within Brazil, F-I-M, pronounced FEM, being, yes, you've guessed it, Portuguese for the end.
It's pretty great, and that was a U.S. Government-produced film about. There's a couple of films that were released under that organization, that department, and there's some that were actually made by Disney. There were some really good films that I would love to show you, but I dare not show you. Maybe I'll figure out a way to get you to see it. Anyways, yesterday we did a giveaway. We give new stickers. Where's the sticker at? This is my bored nephew who was scanning films, drew this, and accidentally created a logo, maybe mascot, for the AV Geeks Lunch. So thank you for that. And so we're going to send those, and we're going to send DVDs to folks. We're stopping the offer because I was getting some people that were still chiming in after the time. But, you know, when we hit 500, we'll do it again. How about that? That's only 100 business days from now. What is that? If we're doing... Oh yeah, I'm not going to do math. Forget it. Nobody cares about me doing math. Anyways, it's in the future, maybe 3 months. Okay, anyways. Ask not what you can do for your town, but ask what your town can do for you. Thanks to Cornet.
This is our town hall. Many people work here. They work together in running the government of our town. Our town hall is so important that the people who planned it built a tower on it high enough to be seen from almost anywhere in town. Now this is a story about our town hall and about someone who lives down this way in our town. This someone is Billy. It's Saturday morning. Billy and his father are going to the town hall. Billy is going to buy a bicycle tag for his new bicycle. He's going to spend his own dollar for it, too. But Billy doesn't seem very happy about that. Why does the town have to charge money for bicycle tags? What's the money for, anyway? Billy doesn't think he'll ever understand that. On their way to the town hall, they see many interesting things. Here's a truck with special brushes that helps to keep the streets clean. Who owns the truck, Billy wants to know. It belongs to our town, says Father. It belongs to all of us who live here. A little farther along, they stop in front of the fire department. Billy knows that the firemen help to put out fires and protect the people of our town. Does our town own the fire truck, too, asks Billy. That's right, says Father. Our town owns all the fire equipment and pays the salaries of the firemen, too. Our town gets the money for this from the taxes that people pay. Now, to get his bicycle tag, Billy is going to pay $1. That dollar is a tax. Taxes pay for the fire department and for many other things in our town. Look, says Father, the town hall tower. It isn't very far away. But there are other things to see on the way. Here are some men digging a trench to put in new water pipes. Our town is doing this, says Father. Billy's dollar and taxes from other people in our town will pay for this work. There's a special car that belongs to our health department. The driver is a public health nurse. Our town is sending her somewhere, says Father. The people of our town pay her salary. And the salaries of the policemen. The policeman protects us, says Billy. I'm glad he's here. And when Billy buys his bicycle tag, he'll be helping to pay the policeman's salary. Here's the park that is owned by our town. But look, one of the swings is broken. The dollar Billy pays will help to fix the swing. And it will help to keep the park a good place to play. And look, see the town hall tower? We're almost there. On the way, Billy and his father have seen some of the things that are done to help make our town a good place to live. Now they've arrived at the town hall. Many more people work here, helping to take care of our town. And the people who run our town government work here too. And that's why it's such an important building. Why it has that tower that you can see from the very edge of town. Inside the town hall, they look around. Billy sees someone he knows who works here. It's Mrs. Richards. She'll be glad to show them where they can get a bicycle tag. They're going to the police department. The policeman at the desk will issue the bicycle tag. But first, there's a form to be filled out. Mrs. Richards has an idea. If Father will fill out the form, she'll show Billy some of the other offices in our town hall. This is the Department of Public Works and Buildings. The people in this office tell the men who take care of our streets where to work each day. They sent the truck that Billy saw cleaning a street. They see to it that all the streets in town are kept clean. In another part of town, other men from the Public Works Department are putting a smooth new top on an old street. People all over town telephone the department whenever streets need to be fixed. Billy can see that it takes a great deal of work to keep all our streets clean and in good repair. The health department does many things to protect the health of our town. They send out workers who know about health and about how to keep us well and strong. These workers are called public health nurses. Billy remembers he saw a health department car. In it was a public health nurse on her way to help someone. Now here's a department that will interest Billy, the Department of Parks. The people here send out the workers who take care of the parks. Of course, all of us help with this job when we put trash and garbage in the cans for the workers to take away. This department takes care of playground equipment too. They will fix that broken swing. Here's a department Billy knows something about, the Department of Water and Electricity. Just this morning, Billy saw some men digging a trench to put in new water pipes. They were from the Department of Water and Electricity. This department makes sure all our houses have pure water. And they make sure all our streets have electricity and street lights, too. These things are important to us every day. Look, there's the office of the mayor of our town. Inside, the mayor, he's the man wearing glasses, is working with two other town officials. The mayor makes sure that all the departments of our town government are doing their jobs. The mayor runs our town government. He is elected by the people to do that. This is the office where Mrs. Richards works. Here the people of our town pay taxes for certain things. We pay for dog licenses and automobile licenses. These are taxes. We pay taxes for many more things, too. And these taxes pay for all the things our town does for us. Taxes pay for the police department and the fire department, too. And they pay the salaries of people who work in those departments. Billy knows that the dollar he's going to pay for his bicycle tag is a tax, too. And he knows how the money will help to do many things for our town. So he's proud to pay his dollar. The policeman says, "Ride your bike safely." "Thanks, I will," says Billy. So now Billy has his bicycle tag. And he has learned many things about our town hall and the people who work for our town. He has learned about taxes and about what our town government does for the people who live in our town. Maybe you don't need a bicycle tag, but wouldn't you like to find out about your town hall and what your town does for you?
So great. Love Cornette films. You know, some might view this as a socialist film, and no, this was just showing how things were. They weren't, in this case, not proscriptive. They were descriptive. They were talking about how supposedly town governments worked. So there you go. It's time to watch something on our telecine. The telecine is it's like right there behind me. And we pull films from the back, from the archive, and show stuff. So this is one I have not seen before. It's a sleeping feel-good movie. So if you're a big fan of sleeping, this might be good for you. So it's doing this thing again where it's not playing. Give me a second to try to prime it. Hold on. That's really annoying. Sorry about that. Let's try that again.
Did you wake up feeling good today? Oh yeah. Did your troubles all seem far away? Oh yeah. Did you smile at the world from your nice warm bed when you saw that brand new day? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can run, I can jump, I can skip, and I can sing, and I feel so excited over every little thing. I can race, I can tumble, I can hop, and I can swing, and I got a lot of help from sleep. Oh yeah, I got a lot of help from sleep. I can spin, I can twirl, I can dance to every sound. I can play in what's mine or explore all around. I can tell everybody what a day I found, and I got a lot of help from sleep. Oh yeah, I got a lot of help from sleep. Get up and then I have my cereal, and then I brush my teeth, and then comb my hair, and then get on my jacket, get my bus pass, and go to school.
I really feel good when I've had a good night's sleep.
Yeah, I think better when I'm rested.
And energy. Get lots more energy when you're rested.
Well, you feel really good and you do good things. You just have more fun and everything. can leap, I can throw, I can catch and I can climb. I can think or imagine or make up a rhyme. I can keep on going for a long, long time. And I got a lot of help from sleep. Oh yeah, I got a lot of help from sleep. I can run, I can jump, I can skip and I can sing. And I feel so excited over every little thing. I can race, I can tumble, I can hop and I can sing. And I got a lot of help from sleep. Oh yeah.
Do you ever feel like a worn-out rag?
Oh yeah.
Everything you do is a great big drag.
Oh yeah.
Nothing that happens seems quite real.
It sure is an awful way to feel.
Oh yeah.
Well, when I'm tired in school, I don't feel like doing any work, and I'm all crabby, and I put my head down, and I not listen to very many things that my teacher is saying. Make mistakes.
You get so tired that you don't think and you don't pay attention, so you don't know what to do on your papers.
I'd like to give a report about sleep. Sleep is very important. If you don't get enough sleep, you won't have very much energy. And if you don't get very much energy, then you won't be healthy and you don't look good. So, get enough sleep. I warn you.
Are you ready now to call it a day? Oh yeah. Is it kind of nice to feel that way? Oh yeah. Will the sheets be cool and the pillows soft and the blankets warm when the lights go off? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can stretch, I can snuggle, I can drift away. I can travel through the land of dreams to play. I can store up strength for another day, and I'll get a lot of help from sleep. Oh yeah, I'll get a lot of help from sleep.
That was a great film, and I think it's the guy who did the "I'm mad at me, I'm mad at you, I'm feeling sad." It might be the same guy. It's Churchill. I just need to kind of look and see. And also, somebody, who was it? Miss Cynthia commented that it would be great to have the Kool-Aid man burst through and go, "Oh yeah!" with a bunch of empty sugar calories. Pretty great. I couldn't find it. I read that comment. I was like, "Oh, I need to find it," but then the film ended. So, anyways, I think it's time to let's watch a film about canning for the war effort.
Here they are, America's answer to the wartime food problem, Victory Gardens. From coast to coast, you and your neighbors have done a magnificent job of getting down to earth and coaxing out of it the very last vitamin and mineral vital to the nation's food supply. America's next job is to gather all this garden goodness, to capture and preserve the rich, nourishing foods our land has yielded up. Let's can the victory crop. Here's how. Here in one of the Good Housekeeping kitchens, Miss Chapman and Mrs. Kendall are going to demonstrate the two most important methods of canning. The pressure canner method for beans, peas, corn, and other non-acid vegetables, and the boiling water bath method, the recommended way for tomatoes and all other acid foods. For a water bath canner, any covered vessel will do, if deep enough for a rack to keep the jars off the bottom and allow water to cover the jar tops an inch or two. If you need to, make a rack of wood or wire. The first thing to know before you plan your canning is whether your foods are acid or non-acid. Acid foods include tomatoes and fruits of all kinds and are best canned in the boiling water bath. These vegetables are non-acid foods. In canning them, the United States Department of Agriculture recommends only the steam pressure method as being universally safe. Each state college publishes the methods it considers safe within its own state. Only by holding steam under pressure can you get the high temperatures needed to destroy heat-resistant bacterial spores that may be present. Surviving, they may cause spoilage in sealed jars. One organism may develop the deadly botulinus poison, often impossible to detect. Cases of this kind of food poisoning are comparatively rare and have occurred mostly, though not entirely, in the western part of the country, although the germ is found in the soils of all sections. Boiling destroys the toxin, hence non-acid vegetables, not processed in the pressure cooker, can be made safe by bringing to a boil and then boiling for at least 10 minutes before serving or tasting. Several good types of home canning jars and caps are available. Many commercial food jars can be reused if fitted with original screw caps and new metal discs available in 2 sizes. Be sure to take out the old cap lining. Jar closures with separate rubber rings are only partially tightened before processing. Closures with metal discs with made-on rubber gaskets are tightly sealed before processing. Examine each jar carefully. Make sure it is free from cracks and that the sealing edges are smooth. Wire clamps should fit tightly. Whether you're using new jars or old ones, make sure they're absolutely clean. Lots of good soapy water and a thorough rinsing will do the trick. Let's start with tomatoes. They're one of the easiest vegetables to can, and they fit into a million menus from soups and stews to salads and spaghetti sauce. Here's one of several ways of canning them. Miss Chapman puts the water bath canner on to heat, another pot of water to loosen the tomato skins, and a tea kettle just in case some of the water boils away. Since we're going to process the tomatoes in the jars after they are packed, it is not necessary to sterilize the jars, but they must be hot to speed the processing and to prevent cracking. Look over the tomatoes with an eagle eye and discard all soft and damaged ones, for one bad spot might spoil a whole jar. Now's the time to put a few small ones aside for making juice to fill the jars. To make the juice, all you do is heat the tomatoes enough to soften them, strain, bring to boil, then use to fill the jars. Everybody knows the old trick of scalding tomatoes to loosen the skins. A deep frying basket is a slick way to handle this job. It only takes a minute. A cold water spray or quick cold dip speeds up the job and makes the tomatoes easy to handle. Core and cut the tomatoes. You can heat tomatoes and pack hot, or you can pack raw tomatoes in the jar. Now we're ready for the actual packing. Tongs help in taking the hot jars from the bath and packing. Pack firmly. One teaspoonful of salt to a quart is a good rule. Here's the hot juice ready to fill up the spaces. Work out the air bubbles to ensure a full pack and safekeeping. Add more hot juice to cover. Wipe off the edges with a clean, damp cloth. Dip rubber rings and lids in boiling water before putting them on the jars. Place the rubber on the jar flat. Put the glass top on evenly. Snap the upper wire into the notch on the cover, but leave the lower clamp up. Jars with separate rubber rings should be only partially sealed before processing. With a two-piece all-metal cap, place the metal disc over the top of the jar. Then screw down the metal band as tight as it will go. Be sure the water is at least 1 inch above the tops of the jars. Now let's look at our timetable to see how long the tomatoes must be processed. By processing, we mean the time required to cook the food in the jars to prevent spoilage. Tomatoes, when packed raw, require 45 minutes. But don't start to count the time until after the water is boiling. Done. Time to take out the jars. Careful, those jars are hot. Now to seal the jars with separate rubber rings that were only partially sealed before processing. All you have to do to seal the lightning jar is to press down the wire clamp. All this one needs is a firm twist to seal it completely. The third type is already sealed and should not be touched now. Place the jars to cool away from drafts. After 24 hours, test, label, and store in a cool, dark place. Now we're going to can pears. All fruits are acid and therefore can be processed in the boiling water bath. Fruit that is just ripe enough to eat raw is also ideal for canning. The first thing to do is to make the syrup. For juicy fruits, a delicious syrup is made from the juice. Or 3 cupfuls of water to 1 cupful of sugar is a light syrup satisfactory for pears. Allow about 1 cup of syrup for each quart. If you want to stretch your sugar supply, corn syrup or honey may be used in place of some of the sugar. We've already put the boiling water bath and jars on to heat. One of the little tricks prize-winning canners use to keep pears from turning dark is to put them in a solution as soon as they're peeled. 2 tablespoonfuls of salt and 2 tablespoons of vinegar to a gallon of water makes a good solution. Try this and see how much whiter your pears look. Now to peel, halve, and core the fruit and put it into this solution. If the pears are very large, you may have to quarter them. When the pears are ready, wash off the solution to get rid of the salty taste. Put the pears in the syrup 1 or 2 at a time so they don't break or mash. Turn up the heat and cook for 4 to 8 minutes. Cooking fruit shrinks it and makes it easier to pack. There's real art to packing fruit. Handle carefully so the pieces won't break and lose shape. Pack hollow side down to within 1/2 inch of the top of the jar. Cover fruit with boiling syrup, leaving a 1/2 inch head space. Just before sealing, jiggle the jar gently so that the syrup fills up the air spaces. Add more syrup if necessary. With this type jar, screw the band on tightly, then give it a 1/4 turn back to allow steam to escape during processing. Into the canner for 20 minutes. As you can see, fruits are not difficult to can, and it's going to be a mighty satisfying thing to have your own reserve of home canned food. Now we come again to non-acid vegetables, which we will process in a pressure canner. There are several designs. A larger model is useful for big families or neighborhood groups. All these types have gaskets to make a steam-tight seal between body and cover. This one locks with a twist. Some are closed with metal bands. One cover is of flexible steel and closes like this. For registering pressure, some use dial gauges. Others use weights to control pressure as well as indicate it. Now we're going to can string beans. Have them tender, freshly gathered. Don't try to can stale, withered vegetables. Kitchen shears are handy for snipping off the stem end of beans, and a sharp knife and a board make cutting them easier. Cut them in pieces, or pack small ones whole. You need not only a big kettle of water in which to heat the jars, but also a tea kettle of water with which to blanch the beans. As soon as the beans are cut and the tea kettle boils, you're ready for pre-cooking. Pre-cooking should heat the beans thoroughly and shrink them so they will be easier to pack. Cover with hot water and bring quickly to a boil. Then boil 5 minutes to pack piping hot. Let's take a hot jar from the pot and put it down on a cutting board or any surface that isn't too cold. A funnel and a ladle are a great help in filling a jar, but if you haven't got them, a cup will do. When the jar is packed, it should be filled within 1/2 inch of the top with the cooking liquid. Add 1 teaspoonful of salt per quart. Be sure that there are 2 to 3 inches of water at the bottom of the pressure canner. Clamping the cover is very important. Fasten opposite clamps 2 at a time. Make sure they are completely tight. Now be sure the petcock is open and turn the heat on full. The petcock must be kept open until a steady flow of steam has been coming out for a full 7 minutes. Now the processing time for snap beans is 10 pounds pressure for 40 minutes at sea level. After 7 minutes, close the petcock. Keep your eye on the gauge. Just before it reaches 10 pounds, turn the heat low, especially important on electric ranges. When the 40 minutes are up, move the canner off the heat and let it cool. Do not under any circumstances open the petcock or canner until the gauge drops to 0. Let's look inside the cooker and see how the liquid is sucked out of partially sealed jars by the sudden drop of pressure. Irregular pressure during cooking will do the same. Just as soon as the pressure has fallen, open the petcock gradually and remove the cover. Take out the jars. This type needs no tightening after processing. Place them on a cloth away from drafts to cool. After 24 hours, jar seals should be tested. If the seal is perfect, the vacuum holds the lid on. If not, the contents should be eaten while still fresh. Jars with one-piece screw caps are tilted to see if they leak. And now comes the final touch after testing, putting on the labels. Store your jars in a cool place where they are not exposed to light. And remember, every time you use one, you can take pride in two great tasks well done. First, in pleasing your hungry family and keeping them well nourished, and second, in knowing that by so doing, you have released one more precious can of food that will go to build health and strength for our fighting men and for the hungry nations of the world.
When you go for a fling on the flume, is he sitting far downstream?
Get set, get closer.
When you book a cozy little table for two, do you find something has come between you?
Get set, get closer.
Only Certs has flavor crystals and Retsin for great taste and fresh breath that lasts over an hour. When you want to smooch, does she call the pooch?
Get set, get closer.
Where's Sydney?
Upstairs, playing.
Ah, it's a good time to frost my cake.
Someone thinks your cake is pretty good without frosting.
Sydney, you're in trouble. Uh-oh.
Duncan Hines. Our cake's so moist, even unfrosted, the taste comes alive.
He says he couldn't help himself. It's so delicious.
He's right.
Harry.
Duncan Hines Light Deluxe 2 and pudding recipe. So moist and delicious, they might not wait till they're frosted.
Playing hands and M&M's.
Chocolate candies.
Praying hands and M&M's.
All hands love M&M's, 'cause the milk chocolate melts in your mouth, not in your hand.
Fresh roasted peanut in the center. Milk chocolate and a candy shell. Elated hands and M&M's. Deflated hands and M&M's.
All hands love M&M's, 'cause the milk chocolate melts in your mouth, not in your hand.
M&M's chocolate candies.
Strumming hands and M&M's.
Chocolate candies.
Strumming hands and M&M's.
All hands love M&M's, 'cause the milk chocolate melts in your mouth, not in your hand.
There's a rich milk chocolate center covered with a colorful candy shell. Slapping hands and M&M's.
Clapping hands and M&M's. All hands love M&M's, 'cause the milk chocolate melts in your mouth, not in your hand.
M&M's chocolate candies.
Is sinus driving you crazy with pressure, congestion, mean sinus headache? Want more than aspirin or cold capsules? Take a U-turn to Sinutab, extra strength Sinutab, with the most sinus headache pain reliever per dose without a prescription. 54% more per tablet than standard sinus remedies. Helps relieve pressure and congestion too. Take a turn to relief, a U-turn to extra strength Sinutab, the #1 selling extra strength sinus pain reliever.
Starburst fruit chews, a burst of refreshing fruit flavor for you. Tastes like mouth-watering orange, strawberry too, luscious lemon.
And now, a tempting new flavor. Tasty, tangy cherry.
There's a burst of refreshing fruit flavor for you in Starburst fruit chews, naturally and artificially flavored.
When I bite into a York peppermint patty, I get the sensation of being in the snow-covered Alps. Yodelay, yodelay, hee-hoo!
When you go for a fling on the flume, is he sitting far down?
All right, so had to sneak in some sugar, empty calorie commercials that I found, and somehow that Simutab commercial snuck its way in. I still couldn't find. I have a Kool-Aid commercial somewhere, but I don't know where it is. But anyway, so that Canning the Victory Crop is a fascinating film because it's talking about a couple of things. One, a lot of us had gardens, and we were encouraged to have victory gardens where we were raising our own food because the normal food production workflow was being compromised because, one, you had workers who were now fighting overseas. Two, some of the ingredients, some of the food was going overseas, and also canning with actual can metals that was also going overseas for the war effort. So the idea of creating your own food source wasn't too foreign to a lot of people, because most people were at least a generation away from someone who grew food for their families. And so this was an encouraged way to do it. And canning, of course, is the way to take whatever you have left over from a harvest and to preserve it so that you can eat it later in the season when those vegetables are no longer available. So both my parents, my mother and stepmother, canned. My father canned as well. And unfortunately, it skipped a generation. Well, it didn't skip a generation. We'll see what my nephew does. But it's skipped me entirely. It seemed like a big pain. 1, to garden. 2, to deal with all of the leftover stuff. So I'm kind of screwed if if our food chain is interrupted. You know, I might have to be eating some old beef jerky that I have up in the pantry, and some boiled peanuts. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. It was great. I love doing this. I love showing you films, and I love your comments and your support. If you like what you saw, you can certainly buy us coffee. We got a lot of coffee yesterday, so thank you for that. But we always can use more. You can also go to avgeeks.com and see other things that we have online, other shows and other things we've digitized, literally thousands, several thousands of things, I think. At least a couple thousand things. You can also tell the world that you like us by hitting like, the like button. It's so easy to do that, just to say, like, you know what, I like that, or I kind of like that, or that irritated me, but I'm going to give him a charity like. You can also subscribe, and there's, I guess, a notification bell on some of the social media stuff, and always commenting and sharing with others is great. So thank you for that. We'll be back again tomorrow, Thursday, 1 o'clock, and we'll look forward to seeing you. As always, we look inside the film can, and it tells us to please rewind and to love each other, and I would say love yourself as well. Everybody have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow.